This past Sunday's AEW Double or Nothing 2024 marked the 5-year anniversary of AEW's existence. Now, this is pretty exciting because what this means is that AEW has been around long enough for their talent contracts to start coming up for renewal at about the same frequency rate as WWE. And we saw a few names this week being reported of finishing up their deals, and we saw a big jump this past Tuesday in NXT. And this is what I can tell you is so exciting about having wrestling competition, two North American wrestling companies competing for the same talent, both with stacked rosters. Talent contracts are going to be something that both companies are going to deal with all the time. They're both going to have talents that they need to re-sign or re-up or renew pretty much every month of every year. So we're now into the thick of it now that AEW has been around long enough for them to sign people and deals to expire. We haven't seen a ton of their deals come up yet because they're a young company. Now, they had already their biggest star leave them and go to WWE to become WWE's biggest star in Cody Rhodes. Jade Cargill also made the jump. CM Punk is another big one. Brian Pillman Jr. on the NXT side. As we would see on Tuesday, Ethan Page. And there could be more names as well. 2 names this week were reported to be finishing up with AEW in the near future. One is Arn Anderson, who will be leaving on May 31st. So tomorrow will be his final day in the company. And according to Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net, Jake Hager is also done with AEW. His contract is already expired, and it was a mutual decision to allow the contract to expire and not renew it. So he is a free agent officially right now, and Arn Anderson will be available after May 31st. I don't know, guys. What do you think? You think Triple H would bring him in? They have a good relationship, I think, Arn and Triple H. Arn worked there as an agent for years. I forgot what the falling out was or how he was let go or what caused him to leave WWE. I don't recall. Hopefully it wasn't, he didn't leave under any sort of bad terms, but if they wanted to bring him back in and give him a backstage role just so he could be there with Cody and maybe be out at ringside with him once or twice, might be a little bit fun. Or Arn can just stay retired because he's had a hell of a run. And if he wants to just hang it up for good and just sit at home and chill, totally understandable. Whatever Arn Anderson decides and whatever Arn Anderson does, we on the channel here wish him the best because we love Arn Anderson. In the case of Jake Hager, I don't really need to see him back in WWE, although I did have a crazy thought. The dude does nothing for me. I'm sorry. He's a good talent. I think he's a big guy. He's an athlete. He can fight. We know that. So he's not terrible by any means. It's just, I've never paid to see him do anything. But he has a quality about him that's easy. He's one of those guys that I think can be so unimaginably unlikable that it gets over. Does that make sense? I thought of this. I had this like brainstorm tag team of Jake Hager and Baron Corbin, and both guys, just the fans cannot stand them for the most part. And they're very easy to dislike. They have punchable faces and they can be obnoxious. We saw that Baron Corbin has shown a really entertaining side of him in that regard to where he can play the role of a douche real well. And so can Hager. And I think the two of them could be so utterly fucking stupid together as a tag team that they just might get over. I mean, like white hot over. So if they want to bring Hager in, slap him in a tag team with Baron Corbin, will they just annoy the shit out of us for so long that they actually flip the script and become over. They're so awful that we like them. I feel like that could happen with them, but regardless, I don't know if WWE would necessarily need Hager back for anything. They're stacked with talent, so if he came in, he might be an NXT type of thing or situation. Who knows? But we'll see what Hager does or if he just takes bookings for a little while. So Arn Anderson and Hager out of AEW. And as we saw on NXT this past Tuesday, Ethan Page showed up and attacked Trick Williams. So he is officially in WWE now. There was talk about him leaving the company as well. Ricky Starks is another name that we've heard talked about a lot recently. If his contract is on its last few weeks or last couple of months, and it's believed that he's not going to resign, then why would you use him on TV? So he might be on his way out as well, and could also show up in NXT, and you could have a little miniature AEW reunion in NXT. I thought it was great to see Ethan Page show up because he seems like someone who's genuinely likable. Fans have always spoke highly of him. He's not a huge, enormous, earth-shattering star. This is not break the internet type of news here or anything like that, but he has a lot of talent, and we've seen that talent come out in AEW. And I think one thing that WWE and NXT does a lot better than AEW is that when somebody starts doing something that starts getting attention or recognized or over in any way, if they start connecting with the audience, if they start doing things that the audience is responding to, and you can feel momentum growing, they capitalize on it. Where AEW, a lot of times, if somebody gets rolling with something, or they get a catchphrase, or they got a hot promo, or they get something that just gives them a little spark, and then that spark continues, AEW just sputters out. I think WWE is better at kind of recognizing that. And if they see something that starts working, they want to see if it's going to work. So they keep with it. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. You think about LA Knight in WWE, even though a lot of fans feel, oh, he doesn't win the title yet or whatever, it's crowded at the top. He might not get to the title, but he's still a very over talent. And the reason he's over is because he got over in NXT, and WWE capitalized on that. Now, Vince almost ruined it with the Max Dupree shit, but he was able to recover once Vince was gone. Triple H, put him out on TV and let him do what was getting him over. So even though he hasn't won any championships, I think if LA Knight would have had that same type of momentum grow in AEW, they might have stumped it. Think about Miro and Wardlow. Where the fuck is Miro, by the way? Think about Wardlow. There's another guy. If I'm Wardlow, bye. I would leave. If I was Wardlow, I would absolutely leave, go to WWE, call out Braun Breaker at a pay-per-view. It's the same thing. And it sucks because AEW, they've got a good thing. They got talent. They deliver kick-ass pay-per-views. And I feel like they could be even better than they are, way better than they are, if they would have been able to capitalize on some of the shit that were golden opportunities that were in their lap that for whatever reason, they just didn't, that they weren't able to strike while the iron was hot or capitalize on. And, it affected negatively that talent. And then that talent's like, okay, see ya. I'm going to leave. So I think AEW is going to see a little bit of an exit, but they're seeing a lot of entry too. Ospreay, Okada, and Mercedes just came in. 3 huge free agents who all signed and chose AEW. So they are there to match WWE's offer. Like I mentioned in the Becky video, the cool thing about this that's different about the WWE and WCW war is that WWE, the reason they were losing so badly is they just could not compete with the wallet of Ted Turner. Imagine if they could. Imagine if Vince could have matched the Razor or the Scott Hall and Kevin Nash offers and kept them, or signed Hogan back. Imagine if Vince had the same money as Ted Turner in the 90s, the fun that would have been, and the amount of wrestlers, the amount of money these wrestlers would have been making. Now it's kind of like that. Arguably Tony Khan can spend a little bit more freely than WWE, but the fact that you have two that can offer huge money, and it's not lopsided like, oh, Tony Khan's got all the money or WWE's got all the money. They can both make crazy offers to talent, and I think that's going to make things real interesting in the next few years, especially if AEW, they're kind of in a decline right now. They're in a rut. So the one thing they have really to offer, the only thing is the money, because it's not like you're going to get more exposure. If you're Becky Lynch, your exposure is going to be no bigger in AEW. It's going to be less, so it's got to be a financial thing. AEW, if they can get back on track and get hot again and get their product hot, and then you got both companies. I hate when one's doing shitty, because when AEW was crushing it a couple years ago, WWE was at its creative worst, and now WWE is rolling and AEW is kind of struggling a little bit. But if we can get them both on fire, if we can get them anywhere near the way WWE and WCW was in like 98. I mean, they were both putting up ridiculous numbers. Goldberg and Stone Cold Steve Austin on opposite shows, both as world champion. That was a wild, wild time. So if we can ever come close to recreating that, we need healthy wrestling companies both thriving. And I think these contracts and the bidding wars could make for some really interesting free agency. A lot of free agents aren't going to be that big a deal. We know they're going to resign. They're going to stay with AEW. They're going to stay with WWE. They're going to do, a variety of things, but I think some of them are going to be super interesting. And when their contracts get closer, you're going to be like, oh, that would be very cool to see him jump or her jump. That's what makes competition fun. I'm so glad we're living in this type of environment in 2024, and it's not 2018 right now. This is awesome. So we will see where Jake Hager lands, if anywhere. If Arn Anderson maybe finds his way back to WWE, we'll see how Ethan Page does in NXT, and we'll see what more free agents hit the market in the near future. Ricky Starks is on a lot of our radars. So is Wardlow. On WWE's side, I'm not really sure of anyone outside of Becky Lynch right now who isn't locked into anything major. Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor. A lot of them have re-upped with the company recently. So I think everybody's kind of safe for now. But pretty much every year, you're going to have free agents or contracts coming up. So it's going to make things pretty interesting. And another really cool appearance that we saw on NXT this week was the appearance of Jordynne Grace. She's going to be challenging Roxanne Perez at NXT Battleground. There has been an agreement made between WWE and TNA. Jordynne Grace reportedly, according to Fightful Select, is going to be on a 3-match deal that is going to earn her 6 figures. Not too shabby. And since it's a 3-match deal, it makes me wonder if she's going to win the championship. If it's a 3-match deal, what's she going to do? Come in and lose 3 times? It feels like she's going to come in, maybe lose, then win the title, then lose the title. And just have a brief run with the NXT title and then go back to TNA and maybe even take the NXT title to TNA. I think that might happen. And I think that's awesome. We're living in a cool time right now. We got WWE working with TNA. Go tell your 2012 selves that. I mean, my God. And then in AEW, you got Forbidden Door, you got the New Japan partnership, and they've worked with a lot of promotions, and Triple H is way more open to this than Vince McMahon. So now you have Triple H and Tony Khan both willing to cross-promote. It might be the closest chance we ever get to having a joint card between the 2 biggest competitors. I can't see WWE doing that because it's got to benefit them. All that would do is, highlight their competition, but shit, you never know. I mean, if it's ever going to be possible, I think Tony Khan will do anything. And Triple H, I think, is open to a lot of possibilities. So we're in an exciting time right now, which is why I am always so baffled why so many people spend so much time hating obsessively one company or the other, or arguing, or just being all around dicks to each other. Lighten the fuck up, y'all. It's a pretty fun time to be a fan. Peace.